Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a walkthrough of a New Year's lesson for grades 4, 5, and 6. Yesterday I posted a New Year's lesson for grade 2 and 3. This is just a kind of a harder version of that lesson, different games, different activities. It's designed for older students, so it has to be a little bit harder. I actually taught a lesson similar to this last year and posted the video of me teaching that lesson, I think in May last year. I taught it in March, but I posted the video in May. This PowerPoint is a bit different. It's an updated version. It's a nicer version. There's a few different games in it from the original, but most of the lesson is the same. So yeah, I really hope you think this is a good lesson and something which you can get some value out of. If you want to actually download this lesson and teach it yourself, there will be a link in the video description below, or you can go to my Taobao store and get it there. As always, if you like lessons like this, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below if you have any questions. All right, let's get into the walkthrough. Okay, let's have a look at this PowerPoint. As always, the beginning of my class is the same. I'm going to go through the rules and all my different classroom management things to get things ready for class. So, beginning of the class is the same. Let's just jump ahead. So, in my class for grade 4, 5, and 6, they definitely have a notebook. I recommend your students do the same. If they see the notebook on the side of the screen, it means they should write down the word in their notebook. All of my students are aware of this, so I have it there for you. If you download this PowerPoint, you can do the same. All right, so in the beginning of your class, it's best to review the previous week or the previous weeks, like the previous maybe 3 or 4 weeks material, things to prepare them for their final exam, or things you think are important, or things which will prep them for the lesson that they're going to learn today. So you can add that here. All right, let's learn. Now, if you saw my video for my New Year's class for grade 2 and 3, the beginning of this class and the beginning of that class are the same, except for a few different things. But pop quiz is the way I'm going to start the class. So what I do is I will select one student from each team. They will stand up at their seats, and I will present the question to them and the possible answers, and I will see who can get the right answer. If they get the right answer, they can get points. And this is just to get them ready to learn, get them thinking, and I can see what they know. I guess the answer is obviously New Year's Day. I tend not to tell my students the topic of the lesson or any details before the class starts, because I really want to see if they know like this stuff. If I tell them, oh, today's class is on New Year's, it's the new year, then they'll be aware. They'll hear me even say the word. And then when I get to this question, do I know if they really knew it or not? Okay, so that's what I tend to do in my class. So I'll award points for the winning team and then move on. All right, so January 1st is New Year's Day. Okay, so generally teachers will teach this, at the beginning of January or the end of December. So this will be a little bit different if you're, in China. For them, technically the New Year is after the Chinese New Year, which is either in like the end of January or sometime in February. But, I like to explain to them that in the West or in most places around the world, the beginning of the new year is January 1st. Okay, so for us, the new year starts this day, and I want them to know, and I'll have them read it together. And what do we say at the new year? We say Happy New Year. Okay, and respond Happy New Year. So I'll say Happy New Year to the class, and they will say Happy New Year back. All right, next pop quiz. Again, this is exactly the same as the grade 2 and 3 New Year's lesson, but I just want to see what they know. So 2022 is the year of what animal? And I'll present them with 4 options after selecting 4 students or 2 students, depending on how many teams you have. And if they can guess the right answer, they can get some points. Okay? That's right. This year is the year of the tiger. Okay? Now, I want to teach them some new words before I even explain anything about the New Year's resolution. So obviously they need to know the word goal. Okay, so I want to see if they know this word, because this is the concept we're thinking about today. What are our goals for the new year? So I'll show them this word, see if they know it, and they can write down their notebook. And the next slide is our New Year's resolution. Now, I don't think any of the students are going to know this word. Not only are they not going to know the word resolution, but even this Chinese, this isn't like a set phrase in Chinese. The meaning means resolution, New Year's resolution, but this is not a set phrase. Like the idea of a New Year's resolution isn't something popular in China, like in the West or in America at least. Having a New Year's resolution is something that, most people talk about or ask each other, or it's just something we do, especially, like I said, in America. But in China, they don't really do it. So the students are not going to know what this is. They know what these words mean, New Year's, and then the Jiaxian means resolution, but they don't really have this as a set phrase. So they'll write it down. They can understand like conceptually what it means, but this is going to be a totally new concept to Chinese students. So they write down their notebook, and then we will have a nice explanation. So in many countries, at the beginning of the new year, many people will make new goals. These goals are called New Year's resolutions. So they know the word goal. Now they see the two things together. These goals are the New Year's resolutions, and there's a translation there for them, just in case, they're not sure exactly what all of these English sentences mean. We're on the same page because I have the translation. If you decide to download this PowerPoint, you can change this to whatever the local language, mother tongue of the country you're teaching in is. These PowerPoints are editable, so you can download it and it's yours to, change however you like, remove things, add things, whatever you like. So, do you have any New Year's resolutions? And I will have the students, think and raise their hands. Maybe now they do think, oh yeah, I do have some things that I want to do this year or whatever. So now they're thinking about it, they understand everything, they should be raising their hands. And you can write down their resolutions on the board, okay? Or you can even have them write it in their notebook, if they want. They can brainstorm with you, write it on the board, and then they can write it in their notebook before we get into the next part of the lesson. All right, teaching part 2. So in this part of the lesson, we're going to teach all the vocabulary for this part of the lesson. So first thing I like to do is I like to show the Chinese characters, or whatever the local language is, you can add it there. And I want to see what they already know. Okay, this does two things. One, it shows me what their actual English level is. I can see if they actually know it, or how many know it, or how confident they are about it. And also, for those students who do know it, even if I don't call on them to give me the answer, when they hear that they were correct, it has an effect on their memory. They'll be like, oh, they'll be more confident. Like, oh, I know how to translate that. Okay, and for those students who were thinking maybe the wrong thing in their head, like they were translating in a different way, or they were totally wrong about how it's translated into English, it's a learning opportunity, right? They thought it was a certain way. Maybe you can even have them write it down in their book, their notebook. I have done that. Like, I show the Chinese and I say, okay, write down what you think it is in English, and then they write down, and then I will show, and I'll be like, who is right, and that's a good, like, kind of a, I don't want to call it like, it's kind of like a pop quiz type of effect that it has on their mind, because they're seeing if they were correct, and then if they were, it confirms they were right. If they were incorrect, then they can like, oh, okay, my thinking was wrong, and now they're replacing that with the correct one. So I think it's important to do this. I like to show the picture and the translation, and then see if they know it. Some teachers just like to automatically give the answer and not let the students think, and I think it's wrong. I think you should let the students have a chance to think about what the word is, okay? And that's the reason that I like to have the Chinese here for this, because I'm in China. I like to have the Chinese. If you're in Korea or Japan, you can change the characters here to the local language, okay? And also you can see here that I have colors here for, like, these are the same meaning, right? What's in red is displaying the same meaning that I've highlighted for the Chinese characters, okay? So I've done that on purpose. I want the students to, maybe it'll have some sort of effect in their memory, okay? This concept of adding ER to display this type of meaning, okay? So I'll go through each one of these, and same thing, each one I will show it, let the students raise their hands. Of course, I let them think for 20, 30 seconds for each one, and then I'll present it, or someone will volunteer it, and they'll write it down, and you move on. Okay, so I'll do that for each one. And again, these are New Year's resolutions, so all of these are things which they might want to do in the new year. Okay, and you can even ask them as you're going through it. You can say stuff to them like, do you want to read more books this year? Who wants to read more books this year? And they raise their hands. Who wants to study harder this year? Who wants to get higher marks this year? And they can raise their hands. Okay, so really get them thinking about improving themselves, and things like that. There's a bunch of ways you could do this. I experiment with different ways in my class. So here they are again. I will push my button here, and the students will say them one more time. They can say them together, or I can say them. They can repeat after me. You can do it by rows. Just depends on your style. I just like to show them all one more time, just to really hone in on the pronunciation and stuff like that before we move on into the first game, which is the fly swatter game. Now, if you saw the video I made for grade 2 and 3, the fly swatter game,
that really hurt.
The fly swatter game is also present in that PowerPoint because I think it's a great game. It's a fun game. You will need fly swatters, and yeah, let's get into how this game works. Okay, so for this game, I have a visual here. Like I said, if you watch the other video, it's the same visual. I've just changed the pictures, but it's a great way to explain games. If you're teaching a new game to your class and you're trying to think of like an easier way to explain things to them, you can build a slide like this. I've done it for probably 5 games so far, and it's really a great way. Like, I don't have to try as hard for them to understand how to play the game because I have enough visuals, that they can see exactly what's going on. Every time I show them something like this with all these visuals and then we play the game, it goes really smoothly. Of course, you can just model it with the kids, of course, but I decided to take the time to make a few of these, and it was fun for me to make it. And like I said, during class, it saves me, a lot of stress as like the first few rounds just go really smoothly instead of there being just misunderstandings and stuff. So 2 students will come to the board. They will have fly swatters. You can hold the fly swatter and say, "This is a fly swatter." Okay, you can swat flies. And 2 is a vocabulary word will flicker. Okay, so there's one flickering. The seated students will say the words. So the seated students who are not holding the fly swatters, they will scream out the word. Okay, the first student to say the vocabulary word will get 1 point for their team. Okay, so in my class, there's 4 teams. I make one of the flashcards flicker, and the seated students shout it out. If I can hear clearly that, this girl in the front or this girl in the back or whatever, the boy on the side was first, then I will give points to that team. So it encourages the whole class to want to participate. So you have students at the front whose the only job is just to hit a fly, okay? But every other student who's not playing is actually playing because they're the ones actually saying the words. And they can get 1 point, okay? Part 3, step 3, the fly will spin. So when the fly spins, the fly swatters need to hit the fly, okay? The first student to hit the fly will get 3 points, okay? Make sure the students understand that, this is important. Draw a fly on the blackboard, don't let them hit the screen. Not only will hitting the screen, cause like the next animation to happen, but you could break the screen or hurt the screen. So don't let them hit the screen. Draw a fly like on the blackboard. I'll draw it really quickly. I draw like 2 circles or 3 little circles, and then I've like 6 legs and then some obvious wings, and and that's how my fly is. It's a really bad drawing, but it gets the job done. So they should hit that fly. At this point when you're explaining it, you hold up the fly swatter and show them that you're hitting that fly, not the fly on the PowerPoint. Okay, and those students can get points. And then I'll say, "Are you ready?" My students should say, "Yes, I am." And so this is what the game actually looks like. You can see all the vocabulary words there and the fly. And I will push the button. It will flicker. And the seated students need to shout out the answer. The fastest student to shout the answer will get a point for their team. You can do it if you want. You can call on like 1 student from each team to stand up, okay? And then so those 4 students are the ones playing from their seats, and then there's 2 students playing with the fly swatters, and those students the 4 students need to try to say the word faster than each other for the points. Now, if you have 4 teams, what I tend to do is I will bring up 2 teams, like a student from each team, just 2 of the teams, give them fly swatters. They will play until the fly spins once. So for example, there's the fly spins. The first student hit the fly there, will get 3 points for their team. I'll take the fly swatters, those students sit down, then I'll bring up 2 students from the other 2 teams, and then they'll get a go with the fly swatter, okay? And I'll do the same thing here. But for saying the vocabulary words, the whole class can play. So the whole class has a chance to get points the whole game, but just you can rotate with the teams who have a chance to hit the fly to get points here, okay? And then the fly spins, hit the fly, those students sit down, the other 2 teams come up, new students, and rinse and repeat, okay? You can do it like that, okay? It should work really well. In my class, I played this game with grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, and I think I played with grade 5 once this year actually, and they still really love it. It's a really fun game. Even grade 6 will like it. Who wouldn't like it? I mean, it's the battle to see who's fastest with the fly swatter, and actually who's fastest to say the words, which is I think the most important part of the game. All right, let's move on to the next part. Okay, teaching part 3. So in this part, they are going to say the sentence. I have die there, so if you have a die, you can bring it in, and you can have them get some points here with the die. So what I'll tend to do is I will call on like one student from each team, and they will say the sentence. Okay, my goal is to, and they will choose one, and they can say the sentence, roll the die, and get points. And because there's a notebook here, the student should also know to write down the sentence in their notebook. So they can write down the sentence first before you even, have them roll the die. You tell them, please write down the sentence, my goal is to, with a blank, and then go around to each team, have one student from each team say the sentence with their preferred answer, and then roll the die. Okay, if the students want to give their own answer, that's totally fine. It's up to you, but in my class, some of the students will want to say their own answer. Some will just go with what I have, but either way is fine. And so each team gets one go rolling the die, and then we move on into the sentence game, okay? Now, the way the sentence game works is very simple. I have an example here. I will bring up, for the example, I'll just bring up like one student to show how it works. I'll select a very smart student who's good at English to have a go. You can bring up 2 if you like. And you show them there's each word of the sentence, and there are numbers here. Okay, some of them have more than one word, but there are numbers here, and the students need to write the correct number order for the sentence to be correct. Now, some of the students are really clever and they'll pick it up really quickly. I'll be like, "Whoa, look, okay, 4 is first. What's second?" And then they're like, "Oh," and they'll realize and like very quickly do it. And I have if they're not understanding, you can just show them this so they can see. Okay. 4, 1, 5, 2, 6, 3. And then it'll rearrange so they can see. Okay, what's the sentence? My goal is to be a better person. That's right, my goal is to be a better person. Okay, by this point, they should get it. They should definitely get it. And then you say, "Are you ready?" And bring up, one student from each team, put them in front of the chalkboard, and then let it rip. Okay, so they will get a chance. You can give them 20 seconds, okay? If you have 2 teams, just 2 teams, you can stand between them so they can't copy off each other, and make sure you tell the seated students to be quiet, okay? They should be quiet. They can't talk, they can't say the answers. In the beginning of every year, I have students trying to cheat, and I'm like a hawk. If they cheat, they lose 5 points, and that's the last time they cheat, because they realize that I'm paying attention, Or another thing you can do is you can have the students facing away from the board, just looking at their classmates, and the classmates that are sitting down can try to figure it out, and then one of them can say what it is, and then the students listen to it, and then they turn around and they need to look and then write the correct order, okay? There's a bunch of ways you can do it. And then another thing you can do, if you have 4 teams, you can make it so that any team that gets the correct order can get 1 point, and then the team which has the nicest handwriting can get 1 more point, and then the team that was the fastest can get 1 more point. Okay, so you can pay attention to these different things. Which team got it correct? Okay, 1 point for each team. Okay, but this girl has beautiful handwriting, and she gets 1 more point, and but this team was fastest, so they get 1 point. Okay, so there's different ways to earn points, and you can rinse and repeat for a few different rounds with different students. And if you want, you can be really you can remove like the capital letters and the periods to make it more difficult. And when you push this button, it could morph into those if you like. It's really easy to change that if you want. I didn't do that because I'm trying to make it a little bit easier for the kids, but you could, if you're savvy enough with PowerPoint to change this PowerPoint to do that, you can. All these PowerPoints are editable, so you can do what you like to them, okay? I just tried to make a variety of games for these lessons so that the class was fun and the kids don't get bored, okay? Okay, teaching part 4. In part 4, we're learning the question. So I will show the question in Chinese, and the students need to see if they can say this in English. It should be quite easy, especially grade 5 or 6. They've learned the word now, New Year's resolution, so they should easily be able to translate this. What is your New Year's resolution? Okay, you can see who can do it. Again, sometimes it's helpful for the students to get a chance to think about it, and then they can write it down in their notebook. And if you want, you can ask a few of them, what their New Year's resolution is right now, see if they use the vocabulary you taught, or you can just move straight into this slide so they can see it, and it's a little bit easier. So you can ask a few different students if you like. Again, you can bring the die out again and let them roll the die if you want. One important thing is make sure that the whole class is asking. So, what is your New Year's resolution? And the student will say, my goal is to be a better person. Now, you could have this say, my New Year's resolution is to be a better person. You can do that as well. I wanted to teach the word goal and have that, be a word that they remember, and also the word New Year's resolution. But if you want, you can change this to say, my New Year's resolution is to, when I originally made this lesson like 4 years ago, I did have both options. So on the bottom, it said my goal is to, and my New Year's resolution is to. So they could choose which one they wanted to say. And then I thought, maybe let's just make it as simple as possible. It kind of made some of the kids nervous. They didn't know which one to choose. So I just try to make it simple. But you can change it. Like I said, you can edit these PowerPoints and, do it how you like. But that's just how I decide to do it. Okay, let's move on to the next game, the help game. Okay, so this is the help game. I actually made this game about 3 or 4 years ago. And again, I have made a visual to explain the game. And actually, if you watch the video of me teaching this lesson in my class, I did play this game so you can see how it looks in a real class. And there's another clip from, I think, 2019 of me playing this game. And there was a funny situation with one of the clues, one of the answers the students gave or something. And I think it was like, lose more weight or lose weight or whatever I had as the New Year's resolution that year. I had like lose weight as one of the resolutions, and one of the students said teacher Matt, they used teacher Matt as a clue. And then the student who was blindfolded, because they're going to be blindfolded in this game and guessing the word, said teacher Matt, and the whole class started laughing. It was a very funny moment. So if you want to check out that video, I will put it in the description below. So 2 students will be blindfolded, as I just said. Okay, a picture will appear. All students will see the picture. Okay, so all the seated students can see the picture, but the blindfolded students, they can't see anything. Okay, now very important. All other students must be very quiet. Okay, be very quiet. If anyone says the word, says the phrase, their team will lose 5 points. So be quiet and be strict about this. If students are talking, making any noise when the game begins, remove points immediately, even if they're just chatty or laughy or something, because you can't hear, if anyone's cheating. This game should be silent. Okay. So they will lose 5 points. Be very strict. In the first round, you can even take points, if you hear anyone saying anything, even if they're not trying to cheat, just so everyone's on the same page. Be very quiet, okay? Next, the picture will disappear. After the picture disappears, the students can remove the blindfolds. The 2 students will say, please help us, please help us. And the other students will raise their hands and give clues about the picture. So these students will raise their hands and they will give clues. So one by one, you can call on students to give clues. Okay, so they say in school, the standing students in the front who took the blindfolds off are like, not sure. Okay, learn, maybe I know. Homework, dad is happy. Oh, study harder. Okay, good. So he guessed the correct answer. The correct answer was study harder. Okay, why is your dad happy? Oh, you're studying harder. You're doing what you're supposed to do. He sees you studying harder. Okay, and he's studying harder for a test. So the student who guesses it correctly first can get 5 points. Okay, and this is how it will look in the real class. Okay, so here's the example. The visual will look like this. Everyone be quiet. Word pops up. Everyone sees it except for the blindfolded students. The word goes away. Blindfolds go away. Raise your hands. Okay, raise your hands, and they give clues. And then when the students get it correct, you can show, You can give them points, show the answer there, and then the whole class says, what is your New Year's resolution? And the two students at the front should say, my goal is to be a better person. Okay? And then, are you ready? And then we get into it, really play, okay? So, looks exactly the same. The visuals show when to be blindfolded, when to be quiet. There's the word, everyone sees it. You got it, good, be quiet. Disappears, blindfolds go away, and then they can raise their hands to give clues, giving clues. Finally, let's guess correctly. Give points, show the words there in the box, and then the whole class says, what is your New Year's resolution? And the students at the front will say the correct answer in the sentence form. Okay, and rinse and repeat. You can play this for however many rounds you want. I forget how many rounds I have set up here. Not that many, but you can remove them if you like. You know, if there's too many rounds, you can remove them. I probably put enough here so it can be played, 5 or 6 times. Okay, and at the end of the class, let's review what we learned. So this showed in the slide, and you can, call on students and have the whole class ask them. Or you can bring them to the front. You can bring up a row of students if you want, and the whole class says, what is your New Year's resolution? And each one says their answer. My goal is to study harder. My goal is to be a better person. Let them practice a little bit. You can have them practice with their classmates sitting next to them if you like. You can say, ask your desk mate, what is your New Year's resolution? And then they answer, and then they ask. And then you can ask like one student to tell you what their neighbor's New Year's resolution was. This is a good way to check if they're actually doing what you're saying. Because when you have them talk to their desk mate, it can get loud. Okay, so if you ask them to tell you what their desk mate said, they'll actually ask, because they know that you have a habit of calling on them randomly to find out if they're doing what you asked them to do. Okay, at the end of the class, again, count the score. I give a star to the winning team, keep track of the star, and say goodbye to the class, and that's the end. Thank you. All right, that's the end of the walkthrough. I really hope you found that useful. If you did and you want to download that PowerPoint and teach it yourself, there'll be a link in the video description below, or you can go to my Taobao store and find it there. As always, smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.